Hello and welcome to Military Mantra. In this interview, we have today Major Arjun, Sena Medal, who has served in the Indian Army for close to 7 years. And in this interview, we'll try to understand his journey of joining Indian Army, life in Indian Army, and various life lessons that he has learned over his service. So thank you, sir, for coming on this interview and welcome.
Hi Akash, it's a pleasure of mine as well.
सर तो पहला क्वेश्चन आपसे ये है कि आपकी लाइफ कैसे थी इंडियन आर्मी को ज्वाइन करने से पहले और आपकी क्या मोटिवेशन थी कि इंडियन आर्मी ज्वाइन करनी है?
Okay, so yeah, it's a very simple mindset and thought process for me. I've been brought up in a military family. So my grandfather was in the Indian Army when the British were here. So he was partly there in the British Indian Army. फिर वहाँ से जब independence हुई तो फिर Indian Army में थे. And then my father joined the army. My father's brother joined the army. And बचपन से environment में ही उसी रहा हूँ कि I've seen फौज में घूम रहे हैं weapons के साथ and everything. So that has played, I think, the biggest role in my mindset. Okay, I want to be part of this environment. So it has always been a motivation. Most importantly, my father was also in the Parachute Regiment. He was from 3 para. And I've seen, since a kid, I've seen him jump and go to exercise with him. He was posted in Nagaland as well. So बचपन से मेरा शौक था कि सेकंड स्टैंडर्ड में कि मेरे को ऑपरेशन के लिए जाना है भैया, आप मेरे को लेके क्यों नहीं जाते? So वही तो बड़ा जाना फिर आ जाना, but I used to like crib a lot, so that sort of a feeling as a kid has is probably been the biggest motivation seeing him be in the armed forces, and it has given me an insight as to कैसे होता है कैसे नहीं होता है. However, मेरे को मेरे फैमिली से कभी भी प्रेशर नहीं आया कि बेटा आपने फौज में जाना है कि नहीं जाना है, do what you want. In fact, they've always said कि फौज देख लेना, बाकी सब पहले देख लेना, something like that. But I was pretty motivated to join the armed forces. So normal schooling, army school, as an army kid, you move around to various places. You go, I've been in Bangalore, I've been in Agra, I've been in Pune as well. So यहाँ वहाँ घूम के school change करके, and my constant motivation was कि I have to join the army, and more importantly in the army was I have to join the SF. And I have to do probation, I have to play probation. So as a fat kid who had too much weight on his body, I was to always go for runs, etc. So it was quite a change. Then I joined university. I had a knee injury when I was in college, I remember, and had a year off with my knee injury. But I was pretty motivated to come back from the injury as well, and had to join the academy. When I was doing law, in fact, from ILS Pune, and law is a 5-year course after the 12th. So after 3 years, I had an opportunity कि you get your BSL degree or undergrad degree and don't finish your LLB and go in. So I said, forget the law, I want to join forces. So मैंने फिर अपना CDS वगैरह exam दिया OTA का. A lot of people told me that join OTA so that you have an option in the future. And that's how I cleared my SSB and joined the academy in 2010. But that's what my life was prior to joining the army. It was completely in the military environment. So my mind was pretty much psyched for being in the forces, but very importantly, only in the Parachute Regiment. So that was what my mindset was.
Got it. So if you could, also speak about your SSB experience and how did you prepare back then, and tips you would like to give to the aspirants.
Yeah, absolutely. SSB was a very interesting time for me. Let's start with TDS. We, of course, third year of my university. Applied for the form and etc. Studied GK. I don't know how I studied, what I studied, but I did study, put in these hours. I had a plan basically. It's very important to have a plan, I feel. As students, maybe we don't think we are planning as much, but it's always good to plan. So went through the whole GK English part. Fortunately, didn't have maths for the OT exam, so it was not much of an issue. So GK and English was done, and I cleared the CDS. Now, once the CDS was clear, a lot of people talk about SSB, that ये होता है वहाँ पे, ऐसा होता है, ऐसा नहीं होता है. थोड़ा एडवांटेज मुझे इस बात में रहा है क्योंकि उसी एनवायरनमेंट में रहा हूँ, तो बहुत लोग गाइड करने को भी रहते हैं, बाकी ऑफिसर्स हों या जिन्होंने ऑफिसर्स जिन्होंने क्लियर किया हो या जिन्होंने SSB में जो पोस्टेड रहे हों, उन्होंने बताया कि भाई maybe this is the way to go about it. But nobody ever said that this is what you should do. It's always been that if you are fit enough for the armed forces, then you will get selected. That is what everybody's told me. And also my father said that you cleared a CDS, that's fine. When you go to SSB, just be yourself. Everybody says that, but it is easier said than done. You be yourself, and if you're meant for it, you will get selected. And that's how I started off with my preparation. Of course, I got into the nitty-gritties of the things that situation reaction test mein kaise likhoge, picture association mein what sort of thought process you should have. So that mental preparation is what I did more than anything else. Of course, with a lot of books and a lot of resources available, you come to know what is going to happen generally in your screening, preliminary screening, or is it after first, second, third, fourth day interview में क्या होता है, आपका जो PIQ होता है, फॉर्म होता है, उसमें क्या लिखा होता है, कैसे लिखा होता है, how it's supposed to speak. So these things I brushed upon myself. I didn't have any particular guidance from anybody. I just did self-study for myself, and that's how I prepared. So for me, it was visualizing, like I was telling you before, that it was visualizing that I am doing a certain thing in the interview. I was visualizing that, okay, I'm going to speak in a calm manner. I'm not going to get put out by anything. I'm going to be in a positive thought process. No matter what hindrances या कोई अड़चन आए बीच में, I will be calm and composed rather than lose my cool. क्योंकि होता है ऐसे. So that is what my preparation was for, I would say 2 to 3 months. And by the time I went to the interview, I wouldn't say overconfident, but I was very, very calm. I knew that, okay, I'm going here, I'm going to have an interview with the main interviewer, and this is how I'm going to speak. And I came out. Even when, when जब last day होता है, जब सब बैठते हैं और फिर conference होता है and everything, I visualized that, okay, my chest number 5 is going to be called out, and it was the first number to be called out. So you might call it luck, you might call it good preparation, maybe a mixture of both. But I did literally visualize these things happening, and I think that is the most important thing. I feel you get a raw material, you get all the questions, you get all the practice notes and everything, but till you don't visualize in your head, if you doubt yourself, it is difficult. If you don't doubt yourself, I think anything is highly possible. But again, it is easier said than done. It is not as easy. You have to really convince yourself that that is the way to go for it. So that is what my side of SSB was. So it was visualize, come, execute, finish off, and join in. So अब hindsight में जब मैं देखता हूँ कि कैसे, तो बचपन से जब मैं फौज के बारे में सोच रहा हूँ तो मेरे सबकॉन्शियस में वैसे ही 10 साल की उम्र से चल रहा है कि मेरे को यहाँ पे जाना है, तो तब से बिल्डअप होते जा ही रहे हैं. A lot of people who might not have exposure to the armed forces till about 17, 18 or 20, till they see some movie, maybe it is a little difficult, a little tricky. Their personal circumstances are different. क्योंकि आप एक घर की ग्रूमिंग कुछ अलग होती है, आप अलग मतलब डाइवर्स उससे आते हो, फौज से नहीं आते. So those things maybe can matter. But I think anybody can start this whole exercise of visualizing and believing and then preparing in accordance with your knowledge. Then I think is the most ideal way of going through an SSB. Okay. Because I don't think SSB has like a quota. If SSB finds, as per me, all 100 candidates worthy enough of joining the armed forces, I'm sure they will be in the armed forces.
That's correct.
So I hope you've got a basic idea of how it's been.
So there's one more thing that we hear about. It's called the OLQs, the officer-like qualities. So you have been an officer yourself. So and you've looked at a lot of new officers who comes in and joined your battalion. Yeah. So what's your perspective? Do people groom on those officer-like qualities, or does it eventually get developed over your service and training?
I think most of the officer-like qualities exist in somebody who's coming in already at some level. Maybe it might not be to the highest level, but I think when the screening happens, it is seen that अच्छा इंसान में ये basic चीजें हैं, loyalty है, honor है, ठीक है, motivation है, perseverance है, goodness of the heart, and all that bravery exists. So वो I think is somewhere there in these candidates, and over a period of time, definitely in the armed forces, जो हमारे interaction होते हैं, जो हमारे courses होते हैं, और जिस environment में हम काम करते हैं, it gets developed more and more in due course. But I think some part of it definitely has to be there inside of you without knowing it, is what it would be. I would also say that maybe till you don't read the officer-like qualities, you might not know what they are. But once you read them, some people relate to it. Some people genuinely don't relate to it. That, okay, I don't feel I should be that brave to go ahead and do these things. So maybe it is just not there inherently in them. I don't know how you can build it up, to be very honest. It's a question for me as well. But I always felt that, okay, I can take that step forward. I can take that, आगे हथियार के साथ जाना, जो भी करना, whatever. So I think it's inherently there with respect to officer qualities. But yes, definitely your answer, it gets developed during your tenure in the armed forces.
Got it. Sir, you went to Officer Training Academy. If you could picture it for us, how was life in the academy back then, and any memories that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, the academy was amazing. It was I think it's the hottest area that you can be in because it's so hot, Chennai. And I remember like we were like the skinny and everything. But overall, I think the academy, I feel, is quite compressed, the course, as compared to IMA, because we're doing a lot of training in that 12-month time period. So it was pretty good in that sense. In terms of memories in the academy, I think the most important thing I've gained is the friendship with my course mates. And of course, even till today, and I'm sure even after 30 more years, we will always be in touch and always remember ourselves the same way in the academy. But for me, academy, I mean, I can't think of one particular incident that is amazing. I think every day, like whether it was getting up early or getting punished, I think the second day of our second, third day in the academy, and our senior just punished us like crazy for something very stupid that we did. We were riding a cycle without, I think, air in it or something like that.
Okay.
So ऐसे उल्टे सीधे काम करके, I mean, stuff like that. But it was very good, I would say. Very challenging academy to train. Um, Also, we saw a lot of infrastructure that was developed during our time there, from it being barracks से आप अभी अच्छी वाली building आ गई हैं. So that was a transition time for us also in academy. So that is what academy was. But I can't honestly pinpoint any specific incident for you right now.
Got it. Sir, if you could also tell us how was the journey of joining the Parachute Regiment from the academy? क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग जो है वो सोचते हैं कि पैरा सिर्फ ज्वाइन करेंगे लेकिन फिर एकेडमी में जाके वो भूल जाते हैं या फिर उनको वो अलॉट नहीं होता है. तो हाउ वाज योर जर्नी इन टर्म्स ऑफ ऑप्टिंग इट?
Okay, so again, coming back to the initial answer that I give you, it was always a predetermined like motivation that okay, SF में जाना है. So when I joined the academy, also I had to really personally take care of my body rather than going all out. So I was very conscious of this, and I was harboring like a injury from previously, so I didn't want to have another injury during my training, which would hamper my chances of doing my selection. That was the mindset. So I did my basic stuff. I did everything. Opted for the SF, and there was, I mean, you always had to prove in your training as well to yourself, not to anybody else, that okay, you're doing fine, you're physically well. So that was what the academy side of the preparation was. But after I went to the unit in probation, if you ask me, that was like a different ball game altogether. Like nothing your academy training can even compare to in terms of the mental challenges that you face. Physically, to hey, physically, to you're going to get slaughtered in any case. But the mental slaughter is crazy. And so you want to know about the probation as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the probation was is I think is a very systematic way of assessing somebody, and it has got more mental challenges than physical challenges. So as an SF soldier, you ought to have your basic physical fitness. Obviously, you needn't be an Olympic athlete, but you need to have the mental frame makeup for it, right? You need to have perseverance, like I told you. You need to have that never give up attitude, which you've heard many times. You need to be creative at the same time, and most importantly, what I have learned is you got to be very humble, and that's something also that somebody like one of my seniors in the unit always told me, that as an SF soldier, humility is your biggest quality, and the more humble you are, the better SF operative or a soldier you'll be. Because there is no mindset of okay, मैंने maroon beret पहनी है या बलिदान का बैच पहना है तो मैं अलग हूँ सबसे. That is not what it is. You're not Superman in that sense. Of course, you do special tasks. That is great, but you're trained for it and you're meant for it, and your mental makeup is that. And one of the biggest things about the SF is that you're a volunteer, right? Nobody forces you to go into the SF. So that first aspect of being a volunteer itself shows a lot about an individual. So once you're a volunteer, then for an operation or a task or any job, you'll never say no because you're in any case a volunteer. So once those set of people come together, it just becomes an amazing outfit to be a part of. Everybody is on the same mindset. किसी का पैर टूटा है, अभी भी मैं ऑपरेशन में जाने के लिए तैयार हूँ. किसी को बुखार हो गया, घर में प्रॉब्लम हो रखी है, लेकिन नहीं मेरे को ऑपरेशन में जाना है, मेरे को ये करना है. So you'll find guys just like that, and that is what the selection process actually checks.
Okay.
in a very holistic point of view, that okay, he's a volunteer, but how far is he willing to go?
Hmm.
So that is what the whole probation was. Coming down to specifics of it, I think the stress phase that we have, I'm sure you've seen the Discovery.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
I
so
have.
that was shot in my unit only. Okay, so we were there when these people came and shot and everything. And of course, it is not. We haven't disclosed everything in that in that whole documentary. But the stress phase that you see, I think, is one of the most challenging parts of the probation. I remember in my probation, I think 60 to 70% of the batch that was doing probation with me
Hmm.
just went out on that particular 36-hour session. It was that taxing. So we were X amount and we just reduced X minus 70%. So that's how taxing it was mentally to an individual. It was just a fight for every minute, to be very honest with you. So that's what it was. But apart from that, the probation taught me also a lot. Taught me about how I am as an individual. It really teaches you. So even people who don't clear the probation
Hmm.
learn a lot and go when they go to their battalions. So I think it's a great learning probation overall as well. So that's how I've been from academy to the probation part. Yeah.
Got it, sir. So if you spoke about the Maroon Beret and the Balidan, if you could pitch it for us, what is the significance of it?
The significance of a maroon beret is it goes back in history. It goes back from the British time, right? If you're asking the overall significance, so British paratroopers wore it, and then most of the parachute units wear it all across the world, and it's they call Red Devils or many other names. So I mean, it's a matter of pride having a maroon beret for anybody in the armed forces. With respect to the Balidan badge means a lot, and it has something to do with the whole volunteer aspect of it.
Okay.
Because you're a volunteer and you're willing to sacrifice anything and everything when you are going into an operation, or even when you're doing a written task, you're giving it your all.
Uh,
So the Balidan badge is, I mean, it's how do I explain it to you? I mean, I'm wearing the t-shirt today after a long time because I'm talking to you and because I'm representing the regiment, but it is. It means a lot if you know what I mean. Um, it it for me comes in every aspect of my life,
hmm.
whether it is my marriage, whether it is doing my job where I am right now, or whether it was back then. Everything is a sacrifice in a good sense,
Hmm.
for the betterment of the organization or the people around you. So yeah, Balidan is a very, very holistic. I think it means a lot more than sacrifice. It'll encompass a lot more. It encompasses the way a person is, the way they behave.
Hmm.
That is what Balidan is. It's all about just कि जान दे दी मैंने तो बलिदान हो गया. That's not what Balidan means.
Got it, sir. Sir, you were a paratrooper, so if you could tell us, how was your first experience when you jumped out of an aircraft?
Yeah. So the first experience was so I've done my basic jumps. Okay, I've done my static line jumps, but I'm also a combat free faller. So I did my advanced free fall courses. So the static line jumps, I was again बचपन से मैंने देखा है जंप करते लोगों को सेम ड्रॉप जोन में
हाँ.
जहाँ पे इंडिया में होता है ठीक है तो आई वाज लाइक किड आई बीन सीइंग तो मैंने कहा ठीक है समडे आई विल जंप एंड द फर्स्ट टाइम आई केम फॉर माय ट्रेनिंग एंड ऑल एंड विद द एयरफोर्स
Hmm.
so it was good fun but when the airport of course you have these butterflies in your stomach when you're jumping but I was okay. I was fine. Like the first static line jump, Chhatri Mata ki jai bol ke, we just went out of the aircraft. So static line was not much of like a, I mean, you jump, the parachute opens, and within a few seconds you're down.
Hmm.
Fine. But when I came from a free fall course, that was like a next level upgrade for me as a SS soldier because it's a very essential skill also, and it's an adventure sport by itself. So that time when you're not jumping with any line attached to the aircraft, you're jumping from a higher altitude, you can control your movement, you're in the air for longer, you're doing night jumps, day jumps, of course, in
Correct.
both. So when I was standing outside on the edge of the aircraft, I was like, shit, man, this is crazy. Like, what are you even doing? But then you think that there are 100,000 people from World War II to whenever have done this and gone. So there's nothing wrong that can happen to you. And even if it does, then you're not going to know much about it. So it's fine. Just go ahead and jump. So that was what my mind said was in the first jump. But it got so much easier. Trust me, Akash. Start jumping, you enjoy skydiving. It's an addictive sport. But in terms of like the SF skill, like I really enjoyed skydiving. Night jumps, 10, 15,000 feet with heavy equipment. It was amazing. It was an amazing feeling.
Sir, as a SF operator, what was your favorite weapon which you like?
Okay. I will have to say the M4 is my favorite weapon.
Okay.
As an assault rifle, but I would love to always carry a MGL, a multi-grenade launcher with me. I just find the grenade launcher an amazing weapon to keep with you. The amount of destruction it can have on your target in a quick time frame without you loading too many times because you got set amount of rounds. I just found it. I mean, I remember in one of the operations, of course, I had fired MGL grenade launcher in practice and all that. But in this operation, when I actually fired, it was an amazing weapon to have. Much more effective, and of course, you have to have a conducive environment for using it because you can't have paid for the ज़्यादा आसपास नहीं हो सकते. But open area में तो it was amazing. So I'll go for an M4 and an MGL. Is my favorite.
Got it.
And with a dagger, of course, with me.
Sir, as a young officer, when you joined the Parachute Regiment, so how was your first combat experience and various learnings from it?
Okay, so I'll give you the mindset also before the first combat experience.
Yes.
Every SF officer, soldier is raring to go into a combat situation. I can bet my life on that. Everybody just dreaming about these situations. And again, I don't know what the mental makeup of guys are to be wanting that, but they do that. All right. So I'd been in for a year and a half in the unit, and I wasn't getting any luck. So I used to go out 100 times in the jungles, but I would be like, there's nothing, there's no combat, there's no contact. I would fire endless amount of rounds during practice firing, and जो भी अमेरिकन मूवी में देख लिया, अच्छा यहाँ पे ऐसे करते हैं, ऐसे घूम लो, ऐसे कूद लो, and all that stuff. I'm like, shit, when am I going to get this chance? When am I going to get this chance? So one fine day at night, we were in North Kashmir, and my team commander had gone on leave. But another officer was with me, my senior. So he and we were sitting in our room, and it was 12 o'clock at night, and I was like halfway to sleep, and I was wondering कि क्या होगा and all that. कल सुबह कुछ करेंगे, practice and all that stuff. तो रात को 12 बजे हमको phone आया. We got a call on sir's mobile phone, the phone that we have generally for some work. So I knew that अगर रात को 12 बजे phone आया तो मतलब something is up for sure. रात को 12 बजे generally nobody will call unless there is some work. So he got a call from the local police rep, and he said that okay, there's one individual in this house we suspect, could be more, and they are here, please move. So we guys are always generally ready. It doesn't take us more than I think 5 to 10 minutes to be in the vehicle and on the move. So any case, sir and I, we went to the police guy, spoke to him, confirmed the area and everything, and came back to guys, informed our JCO and the party and get ready. So मतलब तैयार हो गए. And we went at 12:31. तो गांव के बीच में अंधेरा, कुछ नहीं पता, सब it's you just don't know what's happening. And we went inside. Then we were looking for the local contact who was supposed to tell us that okay, this is the house, where is it, कहाँ है. तो he said okay, ये रहे आपके 15 घर, इनमें से एक घर में. मैंने कहा मैं कैसे ढूंढूं 15 घर में कौन सा है. तो नहीं ये वाला है. But you don't know what to trust, what not to trust. And so generally we avoid going into houses at night. It's very tricky. So we coordinated with the local Rashtra Rifles unit, and we set up a huge cordon. And the SF guys, we guys were in a cordon, and we said let's just wait till morning. So morning, it was December and it was freezing outside here. We were just sitting and waiting. और फिर morning हुई तो we found one person. We asked him. He said कि ये वाला घर है. तो हमने कहा ठीक है. So we went, and all this while in my head, I'm still, because I've not been in a firefight or a combat situation. Yeah. I didn't know what to expect. Honestly, I was still in the movie mode that okay, ऐसे होता है or whatever it is, and I was very very what do you say, naive, you might call it. But of course, with whatever training I've had, I was taking my precautions and doing my thing. So we coordinated house, and we sat there. Okay, fine. Then one of my JCOs from the second squad, he said that लेडीज और बच्चे जो भी बड़े बूढ़े हैं घर से वो निकल रहे हैं बाहर. सो मैंने कहा ओके ठीक है. And then he confirmed to me that there is one, but one terrorist inside. So I said, okay. So I said, we have nothing to lose. He need not put us at risk. Let's just wait, and he'll come out at some point in time. So हमने कहा ठीक है. तो हम बैठे हुए थे पेड़ के साथ. I can't physically show you in my mind how it was, but how much ever you can get, right? So we were around the house, and I was just setting up the guys. And I told my buddy, I said, you wait here next to the tree. I asked somebody else to take my place, and I was just going talking to the other guys. As soon as I went, fire started off like crazy, and it was crazy. That feeling of being under fire is just unexplainable, and so many things go through your mind. But most importantly, it was okay. I have to get this job done. That is most important. I got a call from my buddy who was just around the corner. He said कि साहब बंदे गोली लग गई है. मैंने कहा कहाँ गोली लगी है? कहता साहब शोल्डर में लगी है, बस थोड़ा सा टच करके गया. मैंने कहा ठीक है, उसको निकालो. So we took him out, gave him first aid and all that. So he was fine. But then the firefight started, and we didn't know कहाँ पे बंदा ऊपर है घर के नीचे. It was a 2-floor house, and हमने फायर किया ऊपर, देखा उसने हम पे किया. He fired out at us. Eventually we waited out. He made a run to escape, and we got him. So that was in a gist. It was the operation. Now, what it taught me was you have to be very, very procedural. You have to really follow your training in any circumstance, whether you have an immediate danger in front of you or not. That is what I understood and learned from this experience. Because you cannot let your guard down at any point, regardless of what you have or have not experienced. Anywhere in life, for that matter, you have to follow your training, and you have to be disciplined, because anything could have happened that day, right? To anybody, any of my troops, any of us, right? एक बंदा तो वैसे ही बच गया. He got shot on the shoulder. So that's what it was. But that is what my first experience was, and since then I think it's been on and on. Like since that day, I've had so many contacts. It has been a crazy experience. But this is what my first experience was. I felt lucky to a large extent that we got. I mean, हमें कुछ नहीं हुआ. But we always knew that we had to finish the job, regardless कि तुम fire के अंदर आए हो या नहीं आए हो. The whole team, as an SF team, works really well. There is no low moment in a SF squad. Even when you're under fire, I've known a lot of my friends who are still serving, who've been under tremendous situations where they've been under constant fire, but they've never let their training or mind get down. They never gotten bogged down. They've always come out with, okay, let's respond and go ahead. Because a lot of people can just give up in such a situation. Just हो गया भाई, खत्म हो गया, देखी जाएगी अब क्या होता है. But if you keep a presence of mind at all times, you can, with the slightest bit of chance, just make a difference and get your task done. So that is what one of my major learnings was.
Sir, I have a subsequent question on that. Do you think that the amount of training that the special forces undergo, does it really help you in combat, or do you think every combat situation is actually different?
No training can, I think, teach you for any combat situation. Training over a period of time will inculcate all the combat experience from 100 people around you over a period of time, every year, every month, every time. So it'll keep progressing as per the trends, right? But it can never ever train you for the actual situation, even if you bring it as close it is. So you can only prepare for it to a large extent. However, only the actual facing of a situation is going to teach you. But that is not the answer, right? You have to be prepared for it.
Correct.
So it's a mixed answer, because to a large extent your training does prepare you for what's going to happen, but cannot define that process is going to be A, B, C, D, E. It can be Z, A, E, F, G. If you know these things, you can maneuver. That is what I understand. So training does prepare you for combat operations, but it doesn't give you like a computer process कि भाई ये process है तो ऐसे ही होगा. आपको बताता है कि ये चीजें हो सकती हैं, 1000 चीज हो सकती हैं, 2000 चीज हो सकती हैं. वो आप ट्रेन जितना करोगे, और अब ऑपरेशन में आपको एक थर्ड चीज भी आ जाएगी कोई सिचुएशन, तो you'll be able to handle it. Is what my understanding of a combat situation is. But yes, when you start going through combats, more and more combat situations, you start seeing a pattern. You start seeing that okay, this is also possible, that is also possible, and then that is experience, I think. And then when you combine that with your training and improve your training, I think it gets better and better. So there is no fixed thing for it. But yes, training and combat together can give you a very potent mix of what you can be.
Got it. Sir, coming to the word special forces, be it the Para-SF or the Marcos or the Garud, we call them the special forces. So what makes them so special that we call them the SF?
Again, I mentioned it before. I think perseverance makes them special, is what I would say. One of the many qualities, but I think perseverance is what makes any SF operative special, because SF person in personal life, in an SF unit, in operation, otherwise, you will see that individual never ever give up, and that is what I think is identifies an SF soldier. Amongst again many other things, I can give you a list of 20 things, but I think perseverance is one of the biggest things. I did mention humility to you before, but I already mentioned that. But perseverance is one of the things that I really identify with any SF soldier, and I met SF soldiers from other countries as well. And they have the same attitude, same mental makeup as any SF soldier in any part of the world would have. And I think perseverance is something that I see that it just exists. No matter what, we'll get it done.
Okay. Sir, I have a question in terms of, a lot of people ask me, what does, success or failure means? So as an SF operator, how do you look at these concepts of success and failure?
This is a very, very tricky question. Right? Success and failure. I think success, when you look at it, success can be on a small scale. When it is a small unit, let's say my unit 4 para or 9 para or whichever unit doing what they're doing on a small scale. Okay, we have done these things in the last 6 months, is success for us. But that is momentary success, I feel. The actual success in battlefield, or let's say in our case J&K, would be to improve the situation there, however it is, by your presence. If we are able to improve the situation in J&K, avoid infiltration, avoid militancy or terrorism, that for us will be success. It will not be the amount of combat encounters that we've had. I wouldn't term that as success. That is just part of the process that is leading up to success. But as an SF operative, you have to do a lot more things. Fighting is not the only job. You have to mix with the people. You have to positively influence the local population as well. Positively, emphasizing positively, right? You got to do that. You got to improve. I mean, a lot of SF operations that involve goodwill operations, like helping out the local population as well. That is what SF does all over the world as well. So I think that would be success. Changing the dynamics of a region is what a success would be for an SF. Failure would be, when I first think of it, loss of life, I would say, is failure. Although loss of life in this risky game is inevitable at some point, but to me it feels like, okay, I wouldn't call it failure, but yeah, to a certain level. But again, failure would mean not doing your basic level of expectancy. So if I'm an SF soldier, if I've been trained, I have so much money been spent on me, skydiving करी है, training करी है, Russian language course किया है, जो भी किया है. And if I'm not able to fulfill my basic tasks there, then it is, I would say, a failure. So it's again a very, very simple answer.
Sir, if you could, also tell us the toughest mission or the toughest task or the toughest operation that you've been into, without giving off the details, how did you come out of it? What was your mindset back then? The toughest operation that you have been?
The toughest operation I would say was back in 2016. There was a very peculiar situation where there were 5 terrorists holed up in a house next to the highway, and a Rashtriya Rifle unit had gone in for a search, and they somehow got caught up. It became like a semi-hostage sort of a situation, not directly, but they were the Rashtriya Rifle soldiers and an officer were not able to get out of that house. Terrorists were on top, and that's when we've been called. And these are generally the tasks that we are called in for, because we are not. Yeah, I mean, we are more reactive as a quick reaction force at certain instances. So I was having lunch, and I got called that, okay, this is the situation. Arjun, are you ready to go? You have the guys? I said, sir, absolutely. I was short of a few guys there, but it doesn't really matter. Like 2-3 guys less, we can compensate very easily. So we quickly went over there, and It was bad, to be very honest with you, Akash. It was, we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know the amount of guys. Five, I'm telling you, after we eventually finished the operation. But before that, we knew we had 3 to 4 guys, maybe. There was news of a couple of our RR soldiers who were inside caught up. We didn't know what's up with them. So when we reached this area, excessive amount of firing, पूरी फौज लगी हुई थी, बहुत सारे यूनिट आ रखे थे, but they were not able to proceed further. So then we called for an armored protected vehicle. Casper करके एक vehicle होती है बड़ी सी, तो देखी होगी, है ना? So we called for that. Went towards the house, very close to the house. बहुत फायर आया ऊपर पर. And we saw guys who were down below also. They were alive, but they were just couldn't move out. बर्फ थी घर के चारों आसपास. And फिर वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा हमने, we took a little bit of a risk. Went out and fired a few weapons, tried to suppress the terrorists, and manage the rescue of those about 8 to 10 guys, RR soldiers and officer. तो उनको निकाल दिया शाम को. But unfortunately, there were 2 of our guys who also were in the house who had passed away. So it was again, terrorists were also alive at that point in time, and of course we can't leave our guys inside at any cost, right? Dead or alive. So that's when we got involved in the operation. Kept firing, did a lot of maneuvering in and around. Morning, we conducted a room intervention and everything, and eventually ended up killing 5 guys. Got back the bodies of the 2 martyrs as well. That was in a crux. I think one of the most difficult missions I've been in, operations I've been in, and to the extent that it was pretty here or there. I mean, it was pretty this thing that if you're going in for a room intervention, you're likely to expect casualties most of the times. Like NSG would say, the T-shirt that you're wearing, NSG also faced a lot of casualties. Like in Bombay operations, room intervention is a very tricky sort of operation. So that was, I think, one of the most difficult operations I've been in. Yeah, and five kills, and you got to be very careful with the operations. Yeah.
Got it. So since you have served in the Indian Armed Forces for a very long time, so if I can ask any 3 life lessons that you have learned from the service which you still use or still cherish, any 3?
Okay. When in the army, I have served only in JNK. I haven't been anywhere else, so I don't have experience of going in any other city while being in the armed forces at least. Okay, so in JNK we would always have the map open in front of us. So we would have the map and we would keep seeing that, okay, we can have an opportunity over here, is नाले में, or on this ridge line, or इस जंगल में आते हैं. We would keep seeing what the avenues are, right? And I think life is like that. Life is like a map. So when you open your map and when you are thinking of what to do, I always get that thought process that, okay, these are the avenues for you. You can do this. If you gain this skill, then you can possibly achieve this. So for me, life became a lot like map reading or planning operations through maps. So it is a very peculiar correlation for me in my head, at least. I would see maps. I would memorize the maps. I would see patterns of कि कहाँ से लोग आते हैं, कहाँ ज़्यादा terrorists घूमते हैं, or whatever it is, what the weak points are. So that's how I look at life now. Is even I've post leaving the armed forces, I have had to obviously fight my way to be wherever I am. And even now I'm still fighting every day, right, to further improve or whatever it is. So I keep looking at like a map. I keep analyzing. So that's one of the biggest things I've learned from the armed forces. Just keep your options open and work towards your options and analyze everything that is there in front of you. Don't be closed off in any way. And possibilities always open up. That is one. Second, like I told you before, I think twice, never give up, and perseverance has to be there. There is just no way without it. There is no point getting disheartened. There is the only way is to move forward. There is no other way to doing anything in life like the SF. So that is something that I've learned. Hope to instill that in with my children as well, whenever in the future. Apart from that, I think what the SF and the army has taught me is the importance of human relations and keeping honest human relations, which I don't see, to be very honest, in the civil street now. It is a very मतलबी दुनिया in a way. काम है तो ठीक है, but फौज में is that genuineness majority of the times is what you see is something that I've learned tremendously. So these 3 things is what I would say, that human relations, keep honest human relations with people, be like all out for a task, never give up, and just analyze everything and work backwards as per a plan. Have a plan and go ahead. So I think these are three main things I've learned.
Got it. So before my last question, I have few set of questions which I came from the aspirants. So probably you would be able to answer them. So one of the
Okay.
question is, can a pure vegetarian also become a special forces? Because we have seen videos where people eat a lot of insects and everything. So people are asking, do you have to be a non-vegetarian to become a special forces?
No, I don't think so. That's not the case. But even if you have to eat one odd snail one time, how does it matter? It's fine, right?
Yeah.
See, it's a very difficult thing to answer. It's not even. You don't have to be a non-vegetarian to be a special forces operative. I can guarantee. There are a lot of vegetarian officers.
Yes.
I'm also converting into vegetarianism now, although I'm not in the SF anymore. But still, that's not the case. Yeah, for sure.
So there's one more question on, do only the extrovert people become the special forces, or introvert people who do not mingle with a lot of people, who think internally, do they also become special forces? Do you look for what kind of qualities?
Okay, this is an interesting question actually. Um, we have a perception about special forces soldiers, right? Based on interviews that gentlemen like you are conducting with people from the army, and also movies that we see here and there. 25-inch biceps, chest, ये वो American ये वो. So ऐसी बातें करते हैं. They go out there too flamboyant. I think it is the opposite. I think a lot of the SF officers and troops are the most docile individuals you will see out in the open. I think if I were to ever make you meet officers from my unit in civil clothes, you will not think that they are SF officers. So they wouldn't look as extrovert. They wouldn't look that they have like a six pack or this thing all the time, right? But they're phenomenal soldiers. So I think that that answers it. You don't have to be an extrovert to be an SF operative. Yes, you have to be able to express yourself when you need to. That is required for sure. But you don't have to be there all the time outgoing. I don't think so. I think it's totally contrary. People who are more quiet and docile are the most lethal SF guys. Yeah, that's the reality of it, honestly.
Got it. Actually, how do you rate, the other special forces from the foreign? For example, the Navy SEALs, you would have operated with few of them. So how do you rate the Indian special forces compared to them?
Okay. The comparison has to be based on a lot of factors, right? So you understand these things. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of people understand that the country's economy, how rich, poor we are. A country that earns in so many $billion or pounds a year will have a certain set of standards and equipment in their forces. We, as per our economy and how we're progressing in a nation, we have our set of. So I would possibly say it's easier to compare with countries who are like ours, the SF units. If we compare it with those countries, I think I would say we are far ahead in terms of physical and mental makeup. In terms of equipment, I'm sure we are improving and we will continue to improve in the times to come, but there is scope for improvement in terms of equipment profile, which will improve you as an individual as well. But in terms of physical motivation and mental toughness, I wouldn't put most of the special forces ahead of us. I wouldn't. Now, if you want to compare us with, let's say, British SAS or Navy SEALs or Austrian, whatever, special forces, given the kind of difference in equipment and background and food and diet that we have, again, I would say we are we're quite good. I wouldn't say we are better, but we are quite good. And we have the potential to be there. Having said that, overall, I feel we have a long way to go in DSF. We are still evolving as a nation, as an armed forces, and it is my honest perception because I did study a lot after I came out of the army as well. I did my masters here and interact with a lot of Israeli forces, British forces officers, and their mindset is completely different. Hopefully, in times to come, we'll improve and become more global as special forces, not only restricted to one small area within the country. That is when we start getting better, and we are doing that. We're having a lot of training exercises and that. So that is what I would say. But overall, within our set of we are definitely crazy good.
So my final question to you would be, because a lot of aspirants will be watching this, what will be your message to all of them who want to join the forces, be it Army, Navy, Air Force, or Coast
Guard? My most, I think, my advice or my point of view regarding this would be that firstly, the thought process of being in the armed forces is by itself is a great thought. thought process. The fact that a person has it in them that, oh, I want to be part of the forces is firstly great, and I always promote that sort of thought process. Now, with respect to joining in, whether you join or get through, don't get through, I don't think you should be disheartened. If you don't, you should be grateful, of course, if you do. But if you don't, I think there's always a lesson to take that, okay, maybe you were not meant for it, but that doesn't diminish your thought for your country or the armed forces. So that's what I would say, that try. If not, if you're made for it, you will be there. If not, you'll always continue to be very connected to the forces. So don't get disheartened regarding it. That is what I would say to any aspirant.
Got it, sir. So thanks a lot, sir, for your time on this session. I hope a lot of people who will be watching us will get a perspective about the armed forces, the folk para SF, and other experience that you have shared. So thanks again,
Yeah.
sir. Jai Hind.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure. Pleasure, Akash. Thanks.